Hello there, and welcome to the Universe of Magic podcast. I'm one of your hosts, John, and I'm joined by my other co-hosts, Alyssa and Johnny. Say hello, guys.
Hello.
What's happening?
Oh, I didn't like that. All right. Well, this is our first episode. There will, of course, be bugs. I apologize for that in advance. A little story about this podcast. The three of us are travel agents through Moments of Magic Travel. Great agency if you're looking to book a trip. We'll talk about that later in the show. So pretty much let's talk about how this podcast came together. I know Johnny hosts a podcast, right?
Yes, I do.
Yep. It's pretty big. So, and then Alyssa is one of our great agents.
Why,
and of course, I'm just a Disney nerd, so of course it comes together nicely. So, Alyssa, why don't you go ahead and tell us about your story and about the who's and whys and why you love travel and whatever.
Yeah, jumping right in. So I'm actually a Florida native. So I grew up in Orlando, lived there for 17, 18 years. And then I was a cast member at Disney, while I was in college. So not through the Disney College program, but just a seasonal cast member over at Blizzard Beach. So that was legit. So I mean, kind of Disney is in my blood in a lot of ways. And then travel bug, though, really blew up after graduating college when I got to actually go to Europe for the first time. So I can say now I've been to 8 different countries, over 30 states in the United States. And I have planned, previous to becoming a travel agent, many trips for others. So I was actually last year on maternity leave when I was just having a lot of time to think. And this, I guess, a dream of mine to become a travel agent was floating through my head quite a bit. And I kind of took the leap. And I literally was interviewing with Leslie, our owner, while I was wearing like 8-month or 8-week-old baby, like trying to pray to the gods that he didn't wake up during it. So, but it worked out great. And so been with Moments of Magic Travel actually a year yesterday. So
Congratulations.
Well,
Congratulations.
Yeah. It's flown by and it's been great. So, yeah. So, a lot of like my interest in traveling is obviously Disney World, Disneyland. I haven't been there in a few years, but hope to get back soon. Disney Cruise Line, Universal Orlando. So we actually just took our now 1-year-old to both Disney and Universal Orlando in January, and that was a great trip. And I'm taking him again in July. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell. Yeah. All right. Moving on to Johnny.
Yeah. Yep. Go ahead, Johnny. Go ahead and give us your story.
All right. So my story, when you said the podcast I host is kind of big, I really appreciate that. We're like 444 subscribers. It's called Toilets and Titles. It's a fantasy football podcast. But I actually got into podcasting because I originally wanted to do a Disney podcast, but I never really came about others that were as into Disney as me to get one started. So I'm so happy to have you, John, and Alyssa to put this thing together. So my love for travel and Disney started at a young age. I'm 34 now, but I would like to say like I'm kind of like Peter Pan. I feel like I never grow up. I just came downstairs from playing video games with my kids. But when I was little, we went to Disney often. And then I want to say around 8th grade was when Islands of Adventure opened up at Universal Studios, and Portofino Bay Hotel opened up. And my birthday's in the summer, so we would go every year from like 8th grade to my senior year. We'd stay at the Portofino Bay, and we'd go to both parks, and I loved it. But some older memories, I remember going to Disney World and being a kid and just thinking, man, I want to work here one day. Like what I told my parents when I was a kid, what I wanted to do is I wanted to be the person who drove the tram, who picked you up from your car and then dropped you off back at your car. The reason I wanted to do that was because I felt like that was the happiest time of the day. Like when you got out of your car, you got into the tram and you knew you were going to the park. Like I wanted to kind of encapsulate that if I could. And I was like, this is for me. And then how I kind of got into, Disney travel, I got really sick a few years back. And prior to getting sick, I had ulcerative colitis. I had to have a few surgeries. Prior to getting sick, um, a few years before that, me and my wife, we went out on our honeymoon to Carlsbad. I'd never been to Disneyland. We went with my 1-year-old son, and we were in Carlsbad. We went up to Disneyland, like spur of the moment thing. And I hadn't been to the parks in probably a decade. And when we got there, we got there at the opening ceremony, and the characters came out, and my son was like, I feel like the first 15 minutes of him seeing the characters and then running up to Mickey, getting pictures with him, it was worth the price of admission there. And we fell in love. So we kind of went, our next year, we went to Port Orleans, Riverside. And every year from then on, we were going. And people started reaching out to me because I'm a coach. So I have like I got a thing where I like to plan and organize and direct. So for everyone, kind of friends and people reached out to me, and I helped them plan their trips. And then when I got sick, I had a lot of time. I was kind of bedridden, and I was like, man, why don't I just become a travel agent? So I too reached out to Leslie and I believe Cindy and a few others, and I got involved. But another thing that happened while I was sick, I started watching YouTube videos of parks from all over the world. And I got to watch people walk through like Shanghai and Tokyo Disney. So my my bucket list item is for my 40th. So I'm turning 35 this summer. For my 40th, we are going to Tokyo Disneyland. I'm going to go there for at least 10 days. Like that park is out of this world. And another thing I can't wait to see is Universal Epic Universe. I might quit my job and go work there. I have a little, like I said, I haven't grown up. I have a little bit of a dream I want to open that park. I want to be there when that park opens. So I love the theme park industry, and there's nothing more magical than the Disney parks and the Universal parks.
Yeah, and kind of to echo on that, kind of like my story. Obviously, we're gonna transition to that next, but so I'm 45, and back when I was a kid, I went to Disney World. I believe when I was like 14 or 15, and I was in a group home at the time. Circumstances be what they are. But like when I turned 40, my wife and I, we used to take like smaller trips. Like we would go to Pittsburgh and like go to, training camp or go to a pirate game, or like I think the one time we went down as far as South Carolina. Never really like took a quote vacation. So she's like, well, you're turning 40, let's do something big. So the Daytona 500 happened to fall on my 40th birthday. So I sold her on that. And she was like, okay, well, I don't want to just go there for a weekend. Let's go to Disney or Universal. And I'm like, well, I knew Disney. And, so a little story about me. I'm a big guy. I'm 6'10". I'm considered what they call poo size in Disney terminology. So doing what I do, which is, when I like buy a car, when I buy electronics, I do copious amounts of research. So I'm like, you know what? We'll just go to Disney. So we went for 4 days, and I was hooked. It just brought me back. In fact, one of my favorite pictures of my mom, who passed almost 20 years ago, but one of my favorite photos of her was her at Hollywood Studios. So our second or third trip, and this is something that I love about Disney, the cast members go above and beyond for anything. So like I showed them the picture, and the photographer took the exact same angle, everything. So I have a side by side, which we'll post right here, as far as like, of that picture of my mom back in like the 90s and my wife and I. So it just for me, travel is about connection. Like I can go, one of my favorite places last year was I went to Fenway Park, and I like baseball, but I'm not really a quote unquote fan. But I walk into, Fenway Park, and it's a beautiful, beautiful facility, and it's just so historic, and you kind of feel connection. So that's kind of why I love travel, because it's all about connection. Well, now that we've gone like 20 minutes on that.
No, I agree. Like when I was a kid, I used to love, so now, since I'm in charge for my family, like when I book our trips, I feel like we're going to the park every day. But now that my kids are getting a little older and I'm okay with them walking around, like maybe to the pool by themselves, or,
Mm.
I might have to schedule some pool days in there, because one of my favorite things was being at the resort, not just being at
Mhm.
the park, but being at the resort and making friends, like kids from, all over the world, and hanging out for a few days. Like those connections to me, those were great. And I definitely, we're grown now and it's a different situation, but I miss that, and I need to give my kids an opportunity to do that, because you're right. Connections that's a lot. That's a big part of it.
Isn't that so wild how you can really almost form friendships with total strangers just because you
Yeah.
have that commonality,
Yeah.
like
Well,
that common
I think
interest?
that's the great thing about Disney is because like
Yeah.
you like totally meet people, random people in the queue, and you're sitting there for 45 minutes, and you're like, why not? I'll strike
In
up a
in the queue
conversation.
or in the QZ, in the jacuzzi. Yeah. I make a lot of connections
I
in the
dabble
jacuzzi.
with both, Johnny. I'm like,
Yeah.
I like, I remember last December, like, sitting at the hot tub in the Riviera. I had my iPhone, propped up with Thursday night football, and I was just, striking up conversations with people while watching the football game.
Yeah.
Obviously, I did not have my phone in the hot tub. That would have been really awkward.
Yes.
But you get the point.
Yeah.
It's about connection, meeting people in
Right.
general, like talking to people is kind of what makes, it makes it the experience.
And meeting cast members. Like I love the
Hmm.
little experiences we have. Like last year, like, so December, all right, a few months ago, we were at the Animal Kingdom Kidani Village, and by the pool bar there was a man who cast member, who, so there's, the savannah, and then there's like a side savannah behind the pool bar. And I
Hmm.
spent like 10 minutes there. So there were animals in this part of the savannah that weren't in the other, so I hadn't seen them yet. And just spending 10 to 15 minutes like picking this guy's brain about the animals and his job. And it's awesome. And now with Disney Plus, with I don't know if you guys watched that series on Animal Kingdom, like that was awesome.
Yeah.
With all the different animals in the park. And like I feel like now when I'm in the park at Animal Kingdom, I I'm looking for those animals. I'm looking for those cast members. Like they're all celebrities to
Mhm.
me now. I spend so much time watching that, and I don't want to get too far onto a tangent. And John, I'm sorry, this is something I might do, and you're gonna have to reel me in. But I do want to say, speaking of Animal Kingdom, every time I go to Disney World, my favorite park changes. And
Yeah.
it could be a
Mhm.
matter of months. It's bizarre to me. Like I'll be so excited, like I'll have such a good experience at one park that next year I'm trying to or next trip rather, I'm trying to recapture that. And then I go, and then it's a completely different park for a completely
Mhm.
different reason. And so I mean, I go every year, and the magic does not go away.
Well, I'll give you an example of great cast members, and I was lucky enough to attend the opening day of Rise of the Resistance, and I can recall that day like it was yesterday. In fact, I begged my wife to extend our stay another night because this ride was opening up, and there is a certain cast member, and he's unmistakable as far as like when you're at Hollywood Studios, he works at two attractions, either Rise of the Resistance or the Tower of Terror. His name is TJ. He is fantastic, and
Mhm.
if you know, you know. I mean, he is just spectacular. He just gets so into it. In fact, our last trip coming home, we had a discussion with a cast member who actually knew him and actually said that he's paid an exorbitant amount of rate because he's so good. He's so good at what he does.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because I think when I was a cast member, I was paid like $7.50 an hour. So
You just needed to get into character more.
apparently.
Yeah. Well, hey, I said you need to get into character more. But speaking of characters, how about the
Yes.
news
Ooh,
that
good segue.
Hugs, Disney Hugs, non-distanced interaction with characters is returning? How do you guys feel about that?
I literally cried. I cried when the news
I am really excited about this because and we'll post this picture and we'll post some of our favorite pictures in this part if you're watching on YouTube. One of my favorite interactions ever with a character was our dog, who is now 4 years old, his name is Doug, after the movie Up. We went to Animal Kingdom and we met Doug and Russell, and my wife asked, Doug if we can get a picture separately. And Russell took exception to that and just photobombed us. So
That's funny because I have at Universal, I have a picture with SpongeBob and my wife, and Patrick did something very similar. We need to put those pictures side by side.
yes,
Because
yeah,
they're very
absolutely.
funny, very funny.
Yeah.
My husband has his favorite photo. It's actually us just with a selfie. Pooh Bear is being escorted by a cast member, and my husband turns to me and he's like, "Do you smell that?" And I was like, "What?" And so he's like, "Pooh is behind us. He's
Ha.
stinky." Like it's just
Oh,
right. It's just poor humor.
I had a experience with Princess Tiana and my daughter. My daughter was like 4, and they just talked for like 10 minutes, and that was probably my favorite character experience.
but
That's awesome.
honestly, that's what. And we can go on and on and on about like Disney and stuff like that, but like this is what you pay the price for. Like you literally go there for experiences like this. It's kind of great that we're turning back to normal because like our next story was going to be talking about the cultural rep program returning to Epcot and how like that kind of brings kind of the experience home to when you go around World Showcase.
Like walking into that perfume store in what is it, in France, and like they all have like their French accents. No, not France, Italy. I'm like losing my mind. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Right.
Yeah, we get it.
Yeah, but no, just like knowing that they like it makes it so much more immersive.
Yeah. The restaurants, it's all no being in Norway here, and like, yeah, I think that's a big part of the immersion, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed my last trip to Epcot, but it definitely felt like something was missing, and I think that was probably it.
Definitely. And I think that like as we return to normal, like the crowds are going to be here to stay. And like it is what it is what I like to say when like I
Oh
talk to
yeah.
potential clients about like, well, how are the crowd levels at this time of year? They're crowds. It's going to be crowded.
Yeah, it's different. It's different depending on where you go in Orlando. Disney, you got to deal with those crowds. At Universal, if you stay on property, the crowds don't really matter.
Yeah.
And we were just down there 3 weeks ago and it was busy, and I don't like to go. I like to take my kids out of school. You can call me a bad parent if you want, but
No, great
time is
parent.
money. Thank you. Time is money. And like when I be there, I'd rather it be a little quiet so I can get on everything. But, so we were there. Universal, we got on everything, but yeah, the crowds at Disney. But if you're planning for it, if you're using Genie Plus the correct way, it tends to work. It is what it is. And you need to
Yeah.
know before you go, and you need to be patient.
Hence why you use a travel agent to tell you what you need to know
Yes,
before you go.
Yes,
yes,
exactly. Great plug
Just a
there,
little plug.
Alyssa.
yeah. Hey, but while we're on Epcot,
Yeah.
what are you guys thoughts and expectations on Moana, the Spirit of Water? I know this is another impromptu question, so I apologize, but
That's okay.
I'm kind of, I don't really have any thoughts about it. I'm kind of waiting just to see. It's an experience that, I don't know if there's anything like it in the parks I've been to, so I don't know what to expect. Do you guys have any opinions on it?
I think it's in some ways about time that we have a Moana attraction
Oh, heck yes,
of
heck
Hmm.
some
yes.
kind. Yeah,
I'm still beating the drum for Moana. Everyone loves the Encanto soundtrack. I think the Moana soundtrack goes toe to toe with Encanto. Like
I
I
agree.
even might go ahead and put Moana ahead of Encanto, and that might be blasphemous right now because everybody's drinking the Encanto Kool-Aid. But Moana
Yeah,
soundtrack
It's
is,
a flash in the pan.
yeah, it's good. I mean, I like the music from Encanto, I do, but Moana was just as good in my opinion.
I can agree
Yeah.
with that. Yeah.
I honestly, from what I get of the renderings and the attraction itself, it's going to be just a walkthrough and be like, "Ooh, look at that! That's pretty." That's at least that's what I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be like something. I mean, I'm sure when it opens up, everyone in there their mother will be there with their cameras and just taking pictures and
I'm gonna
posting
take us in
videos on
another
YouTube.
direction again now, and I apologize, really. But speaking of walkthroughs, have you ever
Yes.
seen any videos of the Boo Bash in Disney's California Adventure, the through attraction they have, like
Like with
during
all the
Halloween?
villains.
Well, no,
Yeah.
they have like a maybe it's with villains. It's like through the woods and there's lights. Maybe I could find a link for a YouTube video. Like there's a walkthrough attraction, and it's very cool. Like they use lots of lights, and I wish I was more prepared for this, but
Yeah,
it's another walkthrough. Go ahead.
I think it's going to be similar to that. The Moana thing is going to be like similar. I at least I think. I think it's, and I'll know in about a month or so when I'm down there, we'll get more of an idea of like where they're at with it. Because like
And it's not the Boo Bash, it's the Oogie Boogie Bash. I
yeah,
apologize.
Oogie Boogie Bash. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of Epcot, and we're going to kind of round out the Epcot topics. Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. So this is going to be released probably Sunday or Monday, the 3rd or the 4th, and then on so this will be released probably by the 4th. There will be an announcement about the opening of this attraction. Now, one of the executives kind of let the cat out of the bag that said it's going to be opening up Memorial Day weekend. Yours truly is actually going to be sneaking down there the first or second week of May to try to get on.
Sneaking or running?
Well, it depends.
Sprinting.
Begging, because like as we talked about in the kind of like the banter before the show started, I'm a fanboy of Guardians of the Galaxy. I've seen the original movie probably about 30 times. I love it. I have no apologies for it.
I think that's one, again, another commonality the three of us have, because I too have probably watched the original at least 30 times. And
Favorite character, go.
Great.
Great.
Definitely Star-Lord. I dig Chris Pratt. He's just so fun to watch, and like everything he does. I mean, every role he plays, it's pretty much the shticky like hero type, but he's good at it. I forgot that.
Smooth.
What was that movie he starred in on Amazon? Was it something of Tomorrow? But it was pretty much the same premise as Guardians of the Galaxy, but it was still entertaining because he's a good actor.
True. What about you, Johnny? What's your favorite?
Yondu. I like Yondu a lot. I like his character arc. His story development.
Y'all.
And yeah, that's funny. And then at the end when they I guess the lights, when they do the fireworks for him after he dies, and all the other guys come, and he's awesome.
Tugs at my heartstrings every time.
Yes,
Yep.
He gets me.
So it's going to be an exciting time. I have 2 trips planned in May and in July with my niece and nephews. So I'm hoping that I get to go on there. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm considering, I'll be down for a very quick weekend in July just to go to Animal Kingdom, but now I'm considering adding a second day to go to Epcot.
I think you need to do that, Alyssa.
Yeah.
I think you and I are down there about the same time. So
might need to make it happen.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
If
We'll do
not,
like
September.
Yeah. So, definitely September. Yeah, September we can't really talk about it. It's kind of like agency side stuff, but coming down the road, we might be doing a face-to-face episode. Who knows? Once we get it to the point where my breezeway does not look like a dungeon, we'll go with that. One last touch on Disney news. There was news this week that Hoop-Dee-Doo returned. I don't know if you two have experienced Hoop-Dee-Doo. I have 2 or 3 times. Oh, it's amazing. It's like...
What's all the Hoop-Dee-Doo?
Yes. So it's pretty entertaining. I like it. It's one of those things where it's just vintage. It's vintage Disney for me. It's like and yes, I get it. Some of it's not politically correct, and There's allegedly some rewrites to the show, but that's okay because honestly, like, it's still Hoop-de-Doo Review. It's still Pioneer Hall, and I'm totally happy with that.
As someone who's never seen it, I think I'll go in with zero expectations and will probably enjoy it.
Yeah, I definitely think it's like one of those things where like it's just, if you can imagine, like, it's just when they came up with the show, when it originally, like, when the park or whenever the resort opened and they came up with the show, you can tell it was meant for like just wholesome entertainment. You know, and that's kind of what I dig about it. So I'm very excited about that. We're actually, I know I mentioned this prior, but we're going to be doing a trip with my twin niece and nephew. So I might try to do that. The only problem is I'm a pretty strict dieter when I'm down there. So I wouldn't really enjoy much of the meal. But that's okay.
Though, yeah, I went gluten-free in between my last 2 visits, though, and I have to say I'm so impressed with the team at Disney and the cast members and the chefs, because we dined at Storybook at Artist Point, and it's a fixed price, fixed meal, essentially. All the apps, all the desserts are the same. You just pick your entree. And they went above and beyond and brought me all of my own appetizers, all of my own desserts. Like, they really like made it so that I could still have the full like experience with my family.
Yeah.
So like
I'm gluten free as well. So I completely, I have with my stomach, I have ulcerative colitis. So I've actually been gluten free at Disney for as long as I can remember, like going with my kids, and they are phenomenal. Like they go when the chef comes out, and they have so many different options. I feel like when I eat gluten-free at home, like say if I want to get a cheeseburger and I get a gluten-free bun, or I get cauliflower pizza, it's you could tell it's gluten-free. But I swear, when I'm at Disney, whatever products they get, it's the closest to the real thing. Like, it's closer than I get when I'm at home. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially that. I mean, like, one of my favorite meals on property is Topolino Terrace in the morning. If you haven't done it yet, and in fact, Johnny and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago. Like, around the time of the NFL draft, we'll have to do like a Disney restaurant draft. Where we have like, and just that will be my number one pick, because literally I just eat, a keto / carnivore. So like, I'm pretty much gluten-free, but I literally can eat just eggs and bacon. That's all I eat. It's just the best. And steak. The steak, all you can eat steak for like $40. Yeah. Like,
man, I would have to say,
slam dunk.
My favorite, we go to San Angel Inn every year, and because it's a lot of it's corn. So boom, I don't even have to worry about getting a gluten-free alternative, and just the setting. I love being inside that pyramid. I love how it's kind of dark. I love how the Three Caballeros ride is right next to it. To me, like that, it's everything for me.
So I will say San Angel was my favorite for years. I must have dined there half a dozen times at least, until I went to Sanaa at Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Ooh, that's good.
And now that, I think, is my number one. So
just
the full experience. The service was great. The food was fantastic.
I like peaches and cream too, but I can never get in there.
What? Also, being a Florida native, growing up in Orlando, don't tell Disney I did this, but we would pool hop. We would crash the pools. This was pre-Magic Bands. And so we would go to Beaches and Cream, get milkshakes, oftentimes the kitchen sink, and then we would go to the pool.
I like the No Way Jose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's good too.
Yeah. So that.
So you're probably hungry now.
Oh yeah, I'm very hungry actually. So like, we failed to mention this in the beginning of the podcast, but a lot of like the ideas that we have, we're not only going to tell you the news, we're going to be informational. Like, I have experience. In fact, we were going to do a segment called Tales from Our Trip. I think we'll save that until next time. But like traveling with seniors, traveling with kids, traveling with people who you have never been to Disney and like all this other stuff. Like, there's a lot of like so many topics that can just be approached. Like we kind of want to, pull all the good information from all the other podcasts out there regarding Disney and travel and just kind of mash it all together and make it our own.
And in addition, bringing on some of our fellow agents down the road who also have some specialties, who can share their expertise and their knowledge and experiences. Yeah, I think it'll benefit us, but hopefully our listeners too.
And Johnny mentioned, sorry, Johnny, didn't mean to step all over you.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
So one of our agents, she's one of the board members at Moments of Magic Travel. Cindy is a cruise expert. In fact, I am begging her to just because my wife is a cruise hesitant, because she just doesn't believe in the whole idea of that. So I'm trying hard to when we go to Orlando in July to kind of have a sit down with Cindy and just basically say, you need to go on a cruise.
My wife needs to be there as well.
And my husband.
All right, so us three will go to the park, and we'll leave our significant others with Cindy, and she could brainwash them into going on
Yes, indoctrinate them. Cindy, you have one job. Do not let us down.
I hope you're listening.
And hopefully we didn't embarrass you. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. That's more along the lines of what I was thinking. But what I was going to say was that hopefully also we can build a little bit of a community because, for me, I got to keep the magic going when I'm not at the park because I can't be there every day. I can't be there every month. Luckily, I've been blessed enough to be able to go every year, but who knows, if that'll last forever. But I try to keep the magic going when I'm home, and not everybody that's around me wants to hear me talk about Disney every single day because I think about it every day, and I probably talk about it every day. So hopefully with this podcast, we get to interact with you, the listener. We can grow a little bit of a community, and we can keep in touch, in between travel, during travel, and we can live vicariously through each other and just continue the Disney magic outside of the parks.
Yep,
well said.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep. In fact, I am looking forward to in a couple weeks just talking about hopefully the trip on not Mission Breakout, Cosmic Rewind. It's been a long day.
Yes.
But anyway, yeah, that's just kind of what we're about. If you have any topics that you want to discuss, suggestions, show ideas, it's Universe of Magic Podcast at gmail.com.
We'll put our social media handles, all that stuff in the notes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. We'll go ahead and just put our social media handles on there. Again,
maybe if we get big enough, we'll start a Facebook group, and maybe this is somewhere down the road, but we could start a Facebook group, and once we have enough listeners, we could communicate through there when we're not recording our show. Because again, I'm not doing this just to talk. I want to be able to meet other people who are into Disney like I am. So that could be something also that's coming down the road. So make sure you're subscribed, tune in, stay in touch with us, look at the show notes. You can find a way to follow us. You can see our, we each have Facebook pages dedicated to Disney travel. So check all that stuff out. And like John said, let us know what you'd like to hear us talk about.
Absolutely. So I think that is going to wrap it up for us. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you stayed in through the whole episode. Again, my name is John.
I'm Alyssa.
And I am Johnny.
And this has been the Universe of Magic podcast. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day.
Bye, everybody.
See you real soon.